Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
I'm Lindsey Deluce.
And I'm Kelsey McEwen.
Welcome to CTV Your Morning, the podcast.
Today on the pod, we've got an inside look at the new Degrassi documentary. We've got MMA legend Georges St-Pierre and new parental controls coming to ChatGPT.
And remember to start your day live with us weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. in Atlantic, Canada on CTV CTV News Channel and on your CTV News app.
We have so many great conversations coming up, and where you got a chance to see the new Degrassi documentary. I was such an avid fan of the show, still am. So what can you share? Did you learn anything you already didn't know?
Yeah, I learned a lot of things I didn't know. And I've watched these kids of Degrassi since Kids of the Degrassi Street. So they go all the way back. One of the things that stood out to me was I asked them, how did you first come to the series? And they said they sent flyers out to all of the schools in the Toronto area.
No way.
And then they came and did these auditions and kind of like a boot camp, an acting boot camp, and then that's how they were selected.
Why was there no flyer at my school?
I said to you after the interview, you would have been great on this show.
I wanted one to my school too. We all did. Also a big name here on the show, coming up in just a moment, MMA legend Georges St-Pierre.
Do you know what I loved about my conversation with George, though? It's actually what happened afterwards. So we, in the interview, get into what he's posted on his social media, that he has become a collector of dinosaur fossils and relics. So the interview is over, we ask about that, and he turns and he looks at me and he goes, "What's your favorite dinosaur?"
It was hilarious. I giggled out loud. Did you hear me laugh?
No, but you came and told me afterwards. It was like a conversation between 10-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. He turned to Anne-Marie and said, "What's your favorite dinosaur?" Which was an awesome question. And you had an answer, which was also awesome.
Yeah, T-Rex or Velociraptor.
Obviously. But it got us thinking, like, so he's retired now, obviously, from fighting. He's really into dinosaurs. So say we could retire tomorrow. What would you get into?
I used to say I would want to be a florist.
Really?
Ooh. Yeah, just being around fresh flowers all day and arranging them. Then I decided it was too much standing.
Too much standing.
Yeah, I'd rather just receive the flowers, I think.
You know, you could sit and flower arrange.
And you got to talk to people, then they come in. And you got to, yeah, I guess you could sit. You could just be the arranger in the back and just smell it all. It does smell so good in those places.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about you, Kels?
Oh God, there's too many things that I want to do. Like, I don't know that I'll ever be a person who can retire.
Yeah.
And I laugh because my mom was also like that. She got her dream job after she retired. And then,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, and so I think I just want, I don't know, I'm so curious. I'd love to do so many things. If I was just to pick a hobby, painting. I think painting. Linz?
I'm like you. I don't have any intention of fully retiring. I love the idea of always having something on the go and creating new businesses as I go. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to do in 20, 30, 40
Yeah,
years.
scale
We'll
up
see.
in your retirement.
I'm on the way of scaling all the things.
I know you are.
I love that. Okay, so that's what we would do. But obviously our conversation inspired by Anne-Marie's with GSP.
For UFC fans, the letters GSP always ring a bell. Now, Georges St-Pierre is regarded as one of the best MMA fighters in the world. He's a UFC champion in middleweight and welterweight class, UFC Hall of Famer. He's in the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame, and most recently, a recipient of the Order of Canada. He is with us in studio this morning as he looks back at his career. Good morning, and welcome to your morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Listen, you officially stopped fighting back in 2019, but you haven't stopped training. I've been creeping your Instagram. You're working out hard. You're 44 now, and your fans have seen you maintain fitness over the years. What does staying fit mentally and physically look like for you right now?
Well, I don't train anymore to trying to be the strongest man in the world. I train because it helps me be a better person. So it's for therapeutic use.
Yeah, but are the splits part of that therapeutic use, George? I've seen some of these pictures. This is pretty incredible.
Well, over time, I lose a little bit of my flexibility.
George.
It's normal.
What is this? At 44.
Well, it doesn't get better. It's not like wine. It doesn't get better over time. You know, when you pass 40, I'm 44. In order to maintain it, you have to stay active.
This is just incredible. Listen, people are often curious about how you became a world-class fighter. And you've spoken before about your dad, about his struggles with alcohol in the past. But once he stops drinking, you said he became your greatest role model. What made that switch for you?
Well, because he decided to stop, and not only that, he decided to stop at the time, so it re-solidified my family, and he also started mentoring young people that tried to stop themselves drinking. So I had I was very fortunate to have a great role model as my dad was.
It was his mental strength that you...
I think my resilience, my hard work mentality, I got it from my dad. I never liked to fight. I've done this to propel me where I wanted to be in life, you know. So I have an event coming up in 2 weeks at the Meridian Hall, and I'm gonna teach how you can hypnotize yourself to have the mindset to be able to do things that sometimes that forces you to do things that you don't want to do, but to have keep your goal in mind and to be able to succeed.
Speaking of succeeding, you hold a record of 26 wins and just 2 losses. Thinking back, as you're looking back in your career, is there a fight that defines your time as a fighter or that defines your career, do you think?
I think every fight is different. And, you know, I think there's not one fight particularly. I think it's all the fight together that defines it. You know, I see my career not as a sprint, but more as a marathon, you know, and I think that's how people should see their it's not how you start or sometimes you fail, you know, it's at the end, you know, when you look back at things, you have a better picture of what really it is.
I think I know the answer to this, but would it be your biggest wins or your biggest losses?
I think it's how you come back from a failure, really what defines you. Because when you fail, there's 2 things that can happen. You can lose all your confidence and crumble and never get back up. But if you're able to learn from your mistake, that doesn't mean you'll never lose again, but that means you'll never lose for the same mistake. So therefore, you improve and get better.
Oh, that's really good. Listen, aside from fighting, can you answer me this? One of the interests that you've pursued in retirement is collecting dinosaur fossils?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I've always been a fan of paleontology. Paleontology is the study of the extinct organism.
Yeah.
I'm very interested about the Mesozoic era, which is the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. That ends 65 million years ago. So because I was always interested about it, I took time during my life to get on site and I had a special access. You know, it was very interesting.
But George, this isn't a museum. This is your home, right?
Yeah,
this is your collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you get these things from?
Well, some I bought it online, some I got it from a gift that I received when I went on certain sites. So yeah,
I like George is coming. Let's get the dinosaur tooth.
Yeah, but you know what I like about paleontology is the study of the past, extinct organism, and life is a cycle. So if you learn about the past, it makes you understand the present, and sometimes you can predict the future because everything is a cycle.
You like to study.
Yeah, I mean, life is a constant learning experience.
And you're still learning. Listen, in June, you became a member of the Order of Canada. This is for your work in supporting youth and student athletes. And of all of your accolades, some of which we've highlighted today, you said this was your greatest honor. Why?
Well, because as a retired athlete is the biggest honor you can have. And I'm very happy and I feel I'm very fortunate to have had that honor.
When we talked about you liking to study, so when you study your own life, your wins, your losses, your family, your interest in paleontology, when you're studying yourself, what do you think you still have left to learn?
I have a lot left to learn. I mean, the more you learn, the more you realize how ignorant you are. And, you know, that's what it is. Life is a constant learning, you know, and the more you learn, the more you realize, like, oh my God, I have so much more to learn.
Yeah. George, can I just ask you about the fossils one more time?
Of course.
Because I am fascinated by it. How much do they cost? We do news stories on this show about people who bid on dinosaur bones, and we always think, where would you put that?
Well, it depends. I mean, you could have some that are $500, some that are thousands of dollars, you know, it depends, you know. And in Canada, we're very fortunate to have great remains of dinosaurs. If you go to Alberta, that is home of the most iconic animal of all time, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's
used to live here in Alberta 66 million years ago.
Oh, that would be the ultimate, wouldn't it? Get something from a T-Rex.
Absolutely. I already have. So
what do you have?
I have a teeth. I have a claw. So yeah. I already got that.
GeorgesStPierre, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here with us today. We've got a preview for you.
Wardrobe was a lot of our own clothes that were brought in.
We also had lunch duty where we helped with preparing lunch and doing dishes.
It was the 80s.
Hi.
Truly Whatever It Takes, and it's called Degrassi Whatever It Takes, is exploring the iconic Canadian series from its humble, non-unionized beginnings right through to the next generation with cast interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and tidbits that will make even the most seasoned Degrassi devotee reconsider what they thought they knew. So this morning, we are joined by two cast members, Stacey Mistyshin, who you might remember best as Caitlin Ryan, and Melinda Shankar, a.k.a. Ali Bundari. Welcome to you both for being here. Does it ever get old how much people love this show?
No, it doesn't. Like, I'm a fan of the show.
This is so much fun. What I loved about this documentary was how honest it was. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. They lay it all bare. And kudos to the filmmakers for that, and to you both for being so honest about it. What the show got right, what was successful, what people loved, and where they fell short. You were honest about all of it. What did you guys think of the finished product?
I loved it. I thought they did a really good job of keeping a very balanced, nuanced conversation. And it was refreshing for us to be able to, everyone had so many different experiences, right? And our truths are different than maybe somebody else's, but I love that they allowed us to share that.
Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I learned a lot, especially from the era that I used to watch before I got on it. And I just feel very grateful that I didn't have to do dishes or make lunches.
And that's part of it, is the evolution of it. I mean, I watched it from the kids of Degrassi Street, so like for the whole series, I've watched it. Stacey, you've been with the show since that time. You were part of the kids of Degrassi Street. You were just 10 years old, which is how old, close to how old I was. I think I started watching. All the way through to Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and Degrassi The Next Generation. I was shocked to learn that you and the other actors, as we saw in that clip, you cleaned up, you helped with craft services, you moved equipment around, and you grabbed clothes from your own wardrobe.
Oh yeah. It was a different time.
And why did you like doing all of that as a kid?
Well, we didn't know any differently.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't have agents. We didn't have, that was just our reality. And we were happy, to be involved in such a great production. But yeah, that was what we were told to do, and we did it.
And this was what's so neat about this show is, this is before there were kids channels, before Nickelodeon and before Disney. And, and now when I look at some of those teen and youth shows, they feel impossible to achieve. They all have stylists and veneers, and some of them have even had work done. But this was raw, unedited. This was kids being kids on TV.
So
Stacey,
cool.
The writers, we understand, were pulling what was happening in your own lives and then writing it into the material. Your parents were going through a divorce in real life. It became a plot for your character in the show. They asked if you were okay with doing that, but looking back, how do you feel now about that choice?
I think it was good for me to have an outlet at that time because, that was just one episode. But divorce, as most people know, is not like covered in one episode. That's a long-standing thing. So it was good for me to have something because I didn't really have anything else or anyone to talk to at that time. So I think it was good, retrospectively looking back.
And when you were talking to somebody about it in the show, it was often the writers and producers. They were sort of your, not only employers, but counselors at the same time.
Sort of. It was we had to remember though, and this was, I think, what we learned was that they are our bosses, first and foremost.
Yeah.
We're doing a job. And I think, it was hard for us sometimes to separate the two when we're young and we're impressionable, but that's something that we had to learn. And
Abortion is wrong.
yeah, they wanted to bring out the best of us, and we wanted those storylines because we wanted, to be able to tell these stories. So at the end, it was just really great to be a part of something that has had such an impact.
From kids at Degrassi Street to a doc at TIFF, it has been quite a journey. You guys have been along for different chapters. Stacey and Melinda, thanks guys so much for being here.
What does it look like when you plan a trip these days? Because there's so many options, right? You can plan it yourself. You can lean on AI to plan it for you. You can get a group chat going with whomever you're traveling with. But I have a trip coming up next month with my mom. And my mom used a travel agent, and my eyes are opened. It's been amazing.
Yeah, we went old school again for both of our daughters. They've both done trips. Annabelle went after graduation. Libby and I are about to head to Asia. And a travel agent just made it so much simpler.
What's so interesting is you guys are not alone. We brought in travel expert Loren Christie to find out why using a travel agent is still worth it.
So up to 500,000 Air Canada customers had their flights canceled after the recent strike in August. People were stranded. We know that. Many people had to pay extra money to get home. But there were some Canadians who had an advocate in their corner. Who was that advocate? That was a travel agent. So it got us wondering, in 2025, are you using a travel agent? Should you be using a travel agent? Travel journalist Loren Christie is here to walk us through. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You know, before the internet, I think back to like my childhood, and that was the thing. If you were planning a vacation, if you were going on a trip, you hired a travel agent to do all that. Then the internet hit, and then we start to do it ourselves.
Right.
So what does the role of a travel agent look like today?
Well, it's very different. Like, as you said, back then it was very transactional. It was like going to the grocery store or getting a movie ticket, check, move on. There are much more consultants now, and in fact, I'm trying to train myself to use the word travel consultant because right now it's much more of a process of learning about you, working with you, and all of that. So very different.
What are the benefits of using a travel consultant or agent?
Well, I mean, some of them seem obvious, but, you know, expertise. I think you talked about it earlier on the show. These are people, this is their day in, day out job. Like, I think you used the analogy of a mortgage broker.
Totally.
You know, like, why would you not use a travel agent? But even more than that, over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years, you've seen even travel agents, consultants become more experts in certain things, like whether it's cruises, luxury travel, or destinations. The agent I used for years, I don't use him anymore because he went from just being Agent Carl to Tahiti by Carl. And now he only does Tahiti, but he's great at Tahiti and knows everything about Tahiti. Advocacy, which you mentioned, is also a huge piece about why you know, travel consultants are there to fight for you. You know, they have relationships with suppliers that consumers don't, and so they have access to information and updates. Like the Air Canada one, for example, I think that their mantra was reroute, rebook, resolve. You know, that was what they were doing for all their agents and all their clients. And so while other people couldn't even get through, they were working for that. And financial protection is another one I think is really important that people don't realize, particularly if you work with a travel agent based in Ontario, Quebec, or BC. They're actually licensed and regulated. And so what that means is there's actually consumer protection funds that give additional protection to folks if they need it. Group travel. You know, if you're going around with a big group, if you have a complex itinerary, whether it's a wedding or a reunion, you know, people flying in from different areas and different things, coordinating all those logistics. Again, earlier on the show, you're saying it's all there in front of you. How do you put it all together? And then last but not least, you know, if you're thinking, well, AI can do all that. They can, but you've got to remember AI does not have a heart.
Right.
They don't actually, AI does not care
Wait,
about
what?
you.
They don't?
They don't. They don't care about you. I hate to tell you. Yeah, they're not they. It doesn't care about you. So.
Okay, so one of the big barriers I think people have are like, well, I'm already paying X amount for my vacation. I don't want to pay another, you know, whatever it is. So, but there is some confusion around this for people. How do travel agents get paid?
Well, it is a little bit of a mix, I have to admit, and it varies. I mean, there's a mix of commission, so things like a hotel will pay commission to agents, depending. But there's also a service fee that they tend to put on there, and that service fee can be anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the complexity. Generally, that's what it is. But think about it. You know, if you're doing a complex itinerary, they're giving you dining recommendations, making restaurant reservations, shopping suggestions, itineraries of what to see and what to do and where to go. They're not getting commissions on all of those suggestions. So they do need to get paid. But again, the analogy of the mortgage broker, I think, is good. I mean, you just decide, is it worth it to you to not spend your time and to have that peace of mind and to have the protection?
Do you want to start using a travel agent? Where should I look?
The travel agent next door, if you want to support Canadian, has over 1,400 Canadian agents on there. Virtuoso is one that specializes particularly in luxury travel. It's global agents, but again, you can search for agents on there. And then Journey.com is a fairly new one, but it's all those agents on there are vetted, and there's about 40 Canadians, and they're very good on cruise if you want to go to Journey.
Which people love.
Yeah.
We love when you stop by, Loren. Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Guys, I have a question for both of you. It might be a little personal.
What's on your algorithm? Anne-Marie.
Home renovations, funny
Yeah.
babies,
Yeah.
husband and wife pranks, things like that.
Mine seem to be very similar because you know what it is? I do a lot of sidebar searching, and so do you, Kelsey. So a lot of that stuff is just popping up left, right, and center. But did you know there's a way to trick our algorithm and spend less time scrolling? Here's Kelsey with more on that.
Okay, question for you. Did you check your phone when you woke up this morning? Are you holding it in your hand right now? Most of us are. Canadians, we know we spend almost 5 hours a day using apps on our phone. And we know too much screen time isn't a good thing, but we just keep scrolling. In her new book, Smartphone Nation, Caitlin Regehr digs deep into the science behind screen addiction, targeting algorithms and advice on how to break free from it all. And Caitlin joins me in studio this morning. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you use this term, attention economy. What is this?
Okay, so let's start with the premise that most everything we consume is regulated. The food we eat, the medication we take, the cars we drive. We have consumer protections around these things. We don't have the same consumer protections in the digital space because we're actually not the consumers here. We're the product. Or rather, our time and attention is the product which is being sold to advertisers. And what my work looks at is how through this attention economy, this attention-grabbing economy, hate, harm, and disinformation is often prioritized algorithmically because it's more attention-grabbing. Because disinformation, unfortunately, is often more interesting than the truth, and harm, or things that hook into our insecurities or elicit an emotive response, will often hold us there just a little bit longer. And it's that extra attention that advertisers are paying for. And so what I do in this book is I help develop tools and give people skills to take control over that attention economy.
One of the ways you do this is with this pyramid
That's
about how we can consume content. Take me through this and explain to our viewers what this means.
So generally, we used to talk about screen time, which is a little bit of an outdated term now, because screen time only talks about the quantity of consumption, the amount of consumption, not the quality of what we are consuming. And so what the digital diet pyramid does for us is it starts to help us think more critically about what we are actually consuming by way of our screens and how to get more of the good stuff and less of the bad.
So on the bottom, this would be like the bulk of your screen time, the recommendation, education and learning. Slowly working our way up to that top, the passive, this is like the doom scrolling.
That's the doom scrolling. So generally what we want to be doing is turning ourselves into active participants, active, engaged, intentional usage, and moving away from that passive product state where you just eat and consume whatever is put in front of you.
Okay, so I want to get right to it. What is your advice to how we spend less time scrolling? Give me some tips here.
Okay, so one thing we can do is we make a decision. We actively decide what we want more of and what we want less of, and then we can actually start to game our algorithms effectively. So this is how we game our algorithms. You decide what you want to be seeing, and you actively search for that. Actively search for it, and then quickly move past anything you don't. Do not linger on it, don't comment on it, don't even report it. And what will happen is you will train the machine learning. And if you have older kids who are on social media, this is an exercise you can do with them too. I do know some parents who will go into their kids' TikTok at night and just search for science videos to try and train the machine learning. I think it's better that we educate our kids, that they become empowered in these processes, they take ownership. But this works. You can actually train your algorithm.
And why is it so important to do that? For someone who doesn't understand how this is working, the algorithm, why is it important to linger on the videos that you want to see more of and swipe past the things that don't feel as good?
Because your time is money, literally, okay? Your engagement, your attention is money. And so when you linger on something, when you give it your attention, that tells the algorithm that you should be fed more of it. And that doesn't mean, it might not even be something you want to see. Okay, it might not be something that's good for you. It's not about what's good for you. It's about what will hold your attention. So we need to push back against that if that's not what we want.
Well, it makes sense when you said right off the hop that harm can hold your attention that much longer. Even something like those reels you see or the TikTok videos you see where it's like 5 easy ways to improve your sleep. If you're insecure about your sleep, you're stopping and you're watching that.
That's right.
That instantly grabs your attention.
That's right. And that insecurity will be different for every single person. It might be that we're being fed weight loss products. It might be that you're being fed lots of kitchens you can't afford. And it's worth thinking about whether that's the best thing for you.
Caitlin, I appreciate the conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Smartphone Nation is out now in all major book retailers.
ChatGPT is rolling out parental controls over the next month. The move comes after a lawsuit was filed in California by parents who allege the AI model played a part in their 16-year-old child's death by suicide. OpenAI has promised to debut a number of features aimed at improving safety, but critics are still asking if it is enough. For more on how these new controls will work, we're joined by Shruti Shekhar, editor-in-chief of Android Central. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
So first of all, walk us through what these new features will look like.
Yes, so first and foremost, parents will be able to connect their account with their child's account. They will also be notified of any distress messages that might be sent by their child, and they will just have a little bit more control over what their child can, look at on ChatGPT and just have a little bit more connection with what their child is doing on the platform.
Critics say that these protections could go a lot further, and they're questioning if they would have been added without the lawsuit that we mentioned. I'm going to guess no. Are the guardrails enough? Do they go far enough?
It's really hard to tell because whenever you put guardrails on stuff like this, teenagers are going to do whatever they want to do, and they're going to still find a way to be on the platform. So I do think that it was good that ChatGPT did it, but I think they did it too late. I mean, I think they should have done this a lot sooner, knowing that there are going to be young people on this platform and using it. Especially when we first saw it come out, there was a lot of stories of university kids using it, high school kids using it. If there are so many teenagers and underage kids using it, why weren't these guardrails put up sooner? The fact that they've done it now is a good thing, but is it enough? I don't necessarily think it is enough. I think there needs to be a lot more protection. There was one aspect that I think is quite concerning that I really think ChatGPT needs to fix, which is if you are having a continuous message on ChatGPT, as in you're in the same chat box, you haven't opened a new chat box, you haven't opened a new chat, if you're constantly talking about the same topic, notifications of concern or those posts that say contact a hotline if you're in distress, they don't come up automatically if you are in a consistent chat. So that is something that ChatGPT really needs to work on. These guardrails are great, but if those pop-ups are not coming up sooner, then teenagers can really suffer. So yes, it's good. Is it too late? I think it's a little too late, but it's good that they're doing it.
We know that anxiety rates are high among young people. It's one of the reasons that they are turning to ChatGPT, even just for a discussion point, to help ease stress around anxiety, get some mental health assistance. What more are the reasons? And was ChatGPT may not have been intended for that purpose. It's for the purpose that it's being used now. That's where kids are finding it.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think the thing with ChatGPT is people need to remember that it is not a human being. It is a bot that is fed information. So when you ask it questions, it is able to respond the way that it does. And that is why a lot of people are turning to OpenAI's ChatGPT, because there's that ease of conversation. You're almost talking to a stranger, but really it's an AI chatbot. So while it is a really helpful tool to sort of name emotions, for example, maybe you don't know what your emotion is and maybe it can help you name what that emotion is. The minute that you start using it for something deeper, trying to get a deeper connection or a meaningful connection, that's when I find there's cause for concern, because that is when you need to be reaching out to your support system, talking to someone who might be actually able to help you out, and you shouldn't be utilizing ChatGPT as your therapist. I genuinely think that is a very concerning thing if teenagers are doing that. And to that point, I think as more teenagers use ChatGPT, because they will, the most important thing is parents really need to teach their kids how to use ChatGPT. What is the purpose of ChatGPT? And how can you prevent from some dangerous thing that could take place?
Shruti Shekhar, editor-in-chief of Android Central. Thanks for joining us for this conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Time Time is one of our most valuable resources, and yet we waste a lot of it. Constant notifications, doom scrolling, and other distractions, they can all add up, making us feel like you don't have enough time in the day, enough hours to get stuff done. So how do we get our time back? Hina Khan is a peak performance mindset coach and is joining me now with more answers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so all these little bits of wasted time. You call this time confetti.
I
What's
know.
that?
And it sounds like it's really fun. Sounds like something we can get our energy behind. Time confetti. But what it really speaks to are those little interruptions, those micro distractions during the day. So you can think of it like this beautiful long ribbon. And every time you're gonna, I'm just gonna check that notification quickly. I'm just gonna pop on social media. You're cutting the ribbon and you're left with scraps. And it can really rob you of your best thinking time. So that's what it is.
I saw something the other day that said, like, if you took 2 hours of that doom scrolling every day, which I think, like, through the day, 2 hours is reasonable to say we all do, and then add that up through the year.
Yes.
Like 365 times 2. So now we're into like 700 some hours that you could have spent perfecting something else.
Exactly.
And I thought, well, like mic drop, throw the cards up in the air. So what are some examples of these distractions that steal our time?
Well, you mentioned it, doom scrolling. That is absolutely one. Distracting long phone conversations, responding to every notification, that puts you in a reactive mode. You hear a ping, you drop everything, you're looking at it, and then switching tasks frequently.
Okay, so why are these ruining our overall focus?
Well, it takes time for the brain to recalibrate when you're going from task to task. It's not as simple as just opening up a new tab and you're fully present there. Psychologists call this attention residue. So an example would be you're sitting down to write a proposal. 10 minutes in, you get a notification. So you go to check the notification. Oh, and then you notice that there are some messages on your social media. So then you go to check that. And then, like you said, it's 30 minutes. And that's probably being generous. It's probably more than that you have now distracted onto something else, and now you're going to come back to your task, but it's still going to take time to get back into the flow again. So that's why it's problematic.
Yeah, so how do we figure out how to get beyond this?
Yes.
I get it. I'm like sitting here just being like, yes, I do all of this. How do we move to the next step?
So there's a couple of things that you can do. One is think about when you want to even communicate and send your email. So like batch communication. And what that is, you can even put it on your email. I respond during these times. And that way you're setting expectations and you don't feel you have to respond as soon as things come in.
I love that.
Right? And another thing is to set focus zones. So this is your best time, like when you're in a peak state, when you're in flow, when is your best thinking time, and protect it. You've got to protect it. And then you can also stay on task. Know what your priorities are and set a timer for 20 minutes and only work on that. We live in a world of almost. Oh, I've almost got it done. 70% there, 80% there. When you start finishing things, it makes a difference. And then my favorite, I do this with my clients, and that is setting your day with intention, a morning routine. Honestly, control your mornings, control your days. You start with your agenda, your priorities, not looking at your phone and going into reaction mode.
Anna, you work with people all the time on improving their performance throughout the day. So realistically, if I was to start this today, at what point is this going to feel much more natural and not like an arduous task that I have to like be like, oh, right, I'm not checking social media. Like when I get into my like routine and rhythm, how long should I expect this to take before it feels natural?
Well, many people say it can be 21 days or so, but I actually think it can be sooner than that. Because I think when you start to see the results, that's what you're going to connect to. And you're going to start to go to bed at night and not feel drained and unfocused, not feel like you were really, really busy, but didn't accomplish much. Have you ever felt that? It's like, I feel like I was so busy, but I didn't really move the needle much. So when you start to see your productiveness and effectiveness increase, you're going to see that actually pretty quickly.
I feel like that's going to be the better dopamine hit than the next funny video on the internet.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I say this every time you come on the show, but I feel like you changed my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You will know him best as the man behind the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. Dan Brown has sold more than 250 million books, and now he's back with a long-awaited new one. It is called The Secret of Secrets. It has beloved protagonist Robert Langdon back doing what he does best, solving mysteries, decoding ancient mythology, and taking readers on the run with him. Dan Brown is in our studio. Good morning. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, our makeup artist Lucas came out and said, when I worked at a bookstore, I sold a lot of his books. 250 million.
Kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, even for you, which I find amazing. Listen, you brought Robert Langdon back. Fans will be happy to hear that. Tom Hanks, if you need the reminder, played him in the films. He's back again in the pages of this book. So what is he up to this time?
You know, if you've read my books, which I guess you have, you know that in every novel he very conveniently meets a beautiful, brilliant woman who happens to have the exact skill set he requires. I wanted to do something different in this book, and Robert Langdon is very much in love in this book. So he's actually in a relationship. He is in Prague, solving an entirely different kind of mystery that sort of circulates around the topic of human consciousness.
So how much time do you spend traveling to the countries that you're writing about?
Depends what I'm writing about.
Okay.
I learned the hard way with Deception Point, do not set a book in the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
So now I set in exotic locations that I actually want to travel to. And I spent a lot of time in Prague. I think it's perhaps the most beautiful city in the world, and certainly a city filled with mysticism.
Well, and we get that from your writing, that you know it and you know it intimately. It is no secret you like to tackle big topics in your books, and this one is following suit. But this time, you hit on something not only big, but a bit broad, and that is human consciousness and what happens when we die. Why this topic?
Well, you know, for a whole bunch of reasons. I like to write about big topics, and there is no bigger topic than human consciousness. It is the lens through which we see the world. We react with other people through our consciousness. It's how we perceive reality. And simultaneously, right as I started thinking about writing about this topic, my mother passed away about 8 years ago, and I found myself asking that question that we all ask. What does happen when we die? And if you had asked me 8 years ago, I would have said the answer is nothing. Full stop, total blackness, the end. I just spent 8 years researching this topic, talking to noetic scientists, physicists, philosophers, and a lot of people who've had near-death experiences. And I've come out the other side with a totally different mindset on death. And I should say, I did not have a near-death experience. I've had no mystical or religious experiences. This is based purely on the science that is happening right now in the world of noetics and physics. That is bubbling to the surface. It's pretty exciting. Can
you give me one example of something that maybe triggered you to perhaps be open to changing your mind on how you used to believe about things?
Sure. Well, I won't bore you with all the science, but this book is absolutely an adventure and a thriller, but it involves some of the science. For example, we've all talked to people, we've heard these stories of people on operating tables who pass away, are resuscitated 10 or 15 minutes later, and they say, no, I saw the whole thing. I was up on the ceiling, I was sort of looking down, I was watching this, I saw the guy in the green shirt come in and do this, and the doctor says, your eyes were taped shut and there was no brain activity, this is impossible. It happens over and over and over, medically documented. That was really what got me to say maybe something's happening, and then I delved into the world of science that is, to my taste, starting to prove that the human consciousness can actually survive the death of the body.
I cannot wait to read fully how you have incorporated this into the book.
It's been so gratifying to talk to readers. I talked to somebody in a hotel this morning who had just read it and said, it was so fast. I couldn't believe I read a book that long, that fast. So that always makes me happy.
Oh, I bet it does. Dan Brown, it's great to have you here in studio. Thanks for bringing your book.
Thank you.
A reminder, it is called The Secret of Secrets.
We are so glad you joined us today.
For more great conversations, don't forget to download or hit subscribe to Your Morning, the podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And of course, we would love for you to watch us live weekday mornings on CTV News Channel, or on your CTV News app. Start your morning with us.